The Red Sox made a late night roster move last night. The question is, how does this impact the team? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and there's a lot of moving parts for the Boston Red Sox right now. Yesterday, they made a couple of different additions. They're shuffling around the roster quite a bit. One of those additions was cleanly added to the Red Sox roster, Dominic Smith, because Masataka Yoshida got injured. The other player, it was a bit of a mystery how he was going to fit on this team. Well, we got our answer last night, so what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to talk about this latest Red Sox roster move. Who went down, who's coming up, what this means for the Boston Red Sox, and obviously how it's going to impact the 2024 team. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Just helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, these episodes are always available on the go in podcast form, whether you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or really anywhere else. Link to those episodes will be in the description, or you can just go to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with who was added to the 26-man roster last night. There were two additions the Red Sox made yesterday. We know Dominic Smith has already been added for Masataka Yoshida, who is currently on the 10-day IL. He played in his first game yesterday, got an RBI, looked pretty good at the plate, not the point of the video. The other one who was added to the Red Sox team was a guy by the name of Zack. He was acquired yesterday in a trade with the New York Mets. Now, I've already sort of gone into detail about who Zack is, what he could bring to the Boston Red Sox, so I'm not going to go into some big long rant about it again, but what I will do is give you guys the quick cliff notes on who Zack is in case you missed yesterday's video or you just simply don't remember. Short isn't going to give you a whole lot offensively. He's a career in parts of 4 seasons, 172 hitter with a 266 on base percentage and a 304 slug, good for a 58 OPS plus, about 42% below league average production. So not a whole lot from the plate from Zack. However, he does have a pretty decent amount of value when it comes to defensive versatility, and that's exactly what he's going to bring the Red Sox. What Zack has been able to do throughout his career is give you at or above league average production in essentially every position on the diamond outside of first base and catcher. And while he hasn't technically played left field either at the major league level, if you can competently play center or right in a couple of different games, you could probably play left field as well. Think along the lines of the profile that Pablo Reyes had, right? Where Pablo Reyes was sort of your Swiss Army knife a bit. It's essentially the same thing, just with a bit of a higher ceiling defensively, about the same ceiling offensively. So you're looking at a little bit of a better defender, Pablo Reyes. Now, there was one caveat that we mentioned in yesterday's video, and that is that Zack was out of minor league options, meaning the Red Sox had two choices here. They could either add him to the 26-man roster, or they could decide to DFA him, hope he clears waivers, and you can assign him to AAA Worcester. Obviously, having given the Mets cash and considerations in order to get Zack, DFAing him didn't make a ton of sense, so the Red Sox decided to add him to the 26-man. In order to get him onto this roster, last night the Red Sox announced that they are optioning Enmanuel Valdez. Now, this really shouldn't come as a huge surprise to a lot of people. I think it was always going to come down to David Hamilton and Enmanuel Valdez, just because of the fact that of the position that they play and the performance that they gave this year. The Red Sox went the route of Enmanuel Valdez, who had been struggling pretty mightily at the plate so far this season. He had a 156 average, a 186 on base percentage, and a 267 slug, which is good for a 26 OPS plus, about 74% below league average production. Now, Zack probably isn't going to be an everyday player with the Red Sox. Honestly, we probably will see him once, maybe twice a week going forward, at least until they either find someone better for that last roster spot, or he ends up sort of fizzling out a bit and they end up looking outside of the organization again. But what he will do, which is pretty impressive, is even with the statistics that he's put up throughout his career, he's still a about 30% more productive at the plate than Enmanuel Valdez has been. So you're still increasing your production a little bit there. Obviously, Grissom coming back will take over that full-time second base role. So it does make sense a bit that the Red Sox went with Enmanuel Valdez. He's going to be able to get everyday at-bats down at the AAA level, and that's going to be a prime time for him to work on a lot of things he was struggling with at the major league level, like being more selective at the plate. He was not walking a bit. You take a look at that on-base percentage compared to that average, it's not much of a difference, and he was striking out about 30.6% of the time. Being able to iron that out and really sort of solidify a better plate approach in AAA could help Enmanuel Valdez make his way back up at some point this year. Now, I will say, with Enmanuel Valdez, he was pretty good defensively at least over the last couple of games. He wasn't anything like, man, this guy's going to win a Gold Glove, but he was making a couple of plays out there that you went, wow, all right, Valdez, I didn't know you could do that. A couple of them were in pretty critical situations, too. He was looking much better defensively at second base, but again, with Grissom coming back tomorrow, hopefully, he wasn't going to be able to get everyday at-bats, and optioning him down to Worcester allows him to get those everyday at-bats and iron out that plate approach. What I think was a bit curious about this is why Valdez over Hamilton. Valdez has been playing more every day over the past couple of weeks with the Sox, and like I said, he's been playing pretty solid defense over the past couple of games. Honestly, I think the reasoning behind Valdez over David Hamilton is really simple, at least for the next 24 hours. It's that Hamilton has a bit more versatility, right? You could put David Hamilton at shortstop, at second base. Now we can have a conversation about whether or not it's competent defense at those positions, but he can go out there with a glove and field those positions at some point. I also wonder if speed is a contributing factor as well. Unfortunately for Enmanuel Valdez, he just can only play second base, although he did have one inning at shortstop last year, which I flat out don't remember. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. I think there were just so many shortstops the Red Sox went through in the 2023 season that they all start to blend together a bit. So he has some experience at shortstop. It is a singular inning, but overall, he really can only play second base. And I think that was the largest contributing factor to the optioning of Enmanuel Valdez. The other one, I think, obviously, is that they want him to get everyday at-bats, because I do think at some point here, he's going to get the call back up, and he could be a contributor on this team. Now, what I honestly think is the most important part of this roster move is what it means for the next roster move, how it impacts Vaughn Grissom coming back, because in my opinion, Grissom coming back is the most important roster move the Red Sox are going to make over the last couple of weeks, and it's because of the impact he could have on this team. We're talking about a guy who could completely transform the second base position going forward for the Red Sox, and so to me, getting him back is extremely important. The understanding, I think, for a while, even before he was mentioned to be coming back, was that once he does get back, one of Valdez or Hamilton was going to be optioned. Now with Zack Short coming in and taking Valdez's spot, that changes a little bit. I think it goes from, hey, this could be Valdez or Hamilton to, hey, this could be Bobby Dahlbeck or David Hamilton. And Bobby Dahlbeck and Grissom aren't really compatible in terms of a straight swap, whereas Hamilton is, right? Hamilton is mostly a shortstop but can play second base. Grissom is mostly a second baseman but can play shortstop. Obviously, I think most people assume Grissom's ceiling is higher, so I still think David Hamilton feels like the most obvious option, but I do think there's also a world here where Bobby Dahlbeck is the most obvious option as well, especially because Zack Short can play third base, so you've now got a backup third baseman there along with shortstop, second base, center field, left field, right? You now have those options, and you also, over the last couple of days, added both Garrett Cooper and Dominic Smith, who are going to be playing most of your games at first base. So there's not really a ton of room for Bobby Dahlbeck anymore either, and I'm wondering if that now becomes the move the Red Sox decide to make tomorrow, and that could have a pretty big impact on the Boston Red Sox. When we look at this conversation as a whole, and I try to answer the first question I asked in this video, how does this impact the team, or the question in the thumbnail, does this make the Red Sox better? Honestly, I don't know if it does make them better on paper, right? Zack Short is marginally better at the plate career-wise than Enmanuel Valdez has been over his start to 2024. Again, Zack Short's probably not going to be an everyday player, so I don't know if on paper you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, this roster move made the Red Sox better, but what I do think it did is made the Red Sox more versatile, right? We talked about it before. He's a competent defender basically everywhere on the diamond, and with a roster right now that essentially has everyone spending at least some time on the IL, in my opinion, that's extremely important. Getting that versatility in there and being able to sort of react to all situations in a competent manner, at least defensively, is going to be extremely important for the Red Sox success. So if you look at it that way, yeah, I do think Zack makes this Red Sox team a little bit better. I mentioned yesterday in the video that I absolutely loved the Zack trade. And the reason I loved it was because it shows that the Red Sox front office is willing to continuously improve the back end of this roster, which again, you look at how many guys have had to contribute to the Red Sox being as successful as they have been so far this season, being able to continuously improve that and ensuring that these guys always have the best possible replacements available is extremely important again to this team's success. So overall, I mean, this roster move isn't too much of a surprise, right? We all kind of figured that Valdez would be going down at some point here, especially with Grissom waiting in the wings. I am a little bit surprised they decided to go with Valdez over Hamilton in their first round of cuts, but again, I don't expect Hamilton to make it through Vaughn Grissom coming back. I would assume he's the one who ends up optioned and in AAA. Either way, we're going to have to wait and see on that one. So before we do get there, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? What do you think of this roster move? Does it make the Red Sox a better team? Do you like Zack? Would you prefer to have kept Enmanuel Valdez? What are your thoughts on this move in the comment section down below? As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.